crazy, you know. And it was fun to do, and it took a night and a half.
She was singing as a ghost, a witch, her imagination of that. Cathy not coming back to life, but coming back to haunt Heathcliff and the world at large out on the wily, windy moor.
It was about Cathy haunting her lover Heathcliff and wailing and whining over the moors. Really atmospheric.
Haunt me then. Haunt your murderer. I know that ghosts have wandered on the earth. Be with me always. Take any form. Drive me mad. Only do not leave me in this dark alone, for I cannot find you. I cannot live without my life.
It wouldn't have occurred to anyone
I cannot die
to use as the subject of a lyric a novel that had been written hundreds of years previous. But she did so in a way which struck home emotionally. It really was at the deepest primal need, and it was a sensational bit of songwriting.
Kate won her battle with EMI and convinced them to release Wuthering Heights as her first single. And so, on the 17th of February 1978, Kate Bush was finally released on the British public.
You had a temper like my jealousy, too hard, too greedy.
I first heard Kate when I was at Radio 1 in my program studio, preparing to go on. Kid Jensen was in the next studio, on air, and he played this new single. It was called Wuthering Heights. And at one point, I thought to myself, oh my God, the motor has died, meaning in the turntable, because that was the point where her voice went low and slow. I had no idea that someone would deliberately do that in the middle of a pop record. So I was really intrigued by this. It would have been a disaster if the turntable on Radio 1 had gone dead. And of course, it was genius. It was indescribable brilliance, inconceivable brilliance. She was 19 years old. It was a great classic single. Perfect, perfecto. And of course, the first British #1 written by a British woman.
It was the combination of the piano and Kate's voice just racing up and down the octaves. It was a very startling sound. It was totally new. We hadn't heard anything like it before.
The guitar solo on the fade, which is a long guitar solo, it's almost a minute. But what is so wonderful about it is that it is at times a vamp on the melody, almost jazz-like, but then at times it is the melody. It's Kate as a guitar string. And at the exact fade out, it's exactly the same notes as Kate singing. So there is almost a loop through the whole 4.5 minutes of this record. Even though she's gone, she's still there echoing in your mind, which is perfect for the haunting effect of the record.
I mean, it is a landmark in British pop music. The voice is quite remarkable. I mean, the voice just takes you places no other voice went.
Kate really uses her voice in a very creative way, a very theatrical way, and I think it's something that she's modified over the years. That the earlier albums, sometimes it felt as if she was going up and down the octaves and using strange sounds for the sake of it, almost slightly self-conscious. Whereas with later albums, it's calmer and she just sings, and there's an intense beauty to her voice, and she just lets the melody sing out, really. But on some of the early records, like Wuthering Heights, she uses her voice to real dramatic effect, going really high and then just swooping down low.
The staggering success of Wuthering Heights made Kate an instant celebrity. However, people were already beginning to question whether, like Emily Bronte, Bush would only be capable of one truly great work.
Before the album came out, a lot of people thought, well, she's never going to be able to do anything like this again. I mean, this is such a fluke. Everything about it is a fluke. The voice is a fluke. The subject is a fluke. So she quite wisely didn't duplicate it and went the other way and brought out one of her piano-based tracks, The Man with the Child in His Eyes.
I hear him before I go to sleep and focus on the day that's been. I realize he's there when I turn the light off and turn over. Nobody knows about my man.
The Man with a Child in His Eyes, it's quite an interesting song. This was originally the one that got her record deal at EMI. It's a beautiful ballad, it's really melodic, but as always with Kate Bush, it's never straightforward, it's quite ambiguous. The meaning of the lyrics, it could be about a daughter waiting for her father, it could be about a woman waiting for her lover. There's a real ambiguity there, and it's also, it has a real beauty, but it's also a little bit chilling as well, and very dreamlike.
It's just her singing melodically in that kind of contralto, which is her basic voice, and singing very sweetly and roundly, and you hear what a lovely singer she is.
He's here again, the man with a child in his eyes.
It's, to me, the opening to the sensual, sexual Kate Bush. I mean, Wuthering Heights, that's a fantasy around a novel, and where Kate Bush